All right, here's the Juan Sanchez video log that you created, and there's this is where I stopped, so I'll finish that this weekend.
Okay.
Okay, so I'm going to open Premiere, and I'm having problems with my Premiere. So you can see right here it says system compatibility error, but I'm continuing with known issues. This isn't my computer. This is an FIU computer.
Okay.
So I've had all kinds of problems with it.
Uh,
All right, so it's saying, this is the startup screen. And all this stuff over here on the right, these are past projects I've worked on. So it's asking me, do I want to open those projects? You may, when you open for the first time, you probably won't see this.
okay.
But you have a choice of opening a project or starting a new project. So I'm going to start a new project. And the key thing is that you give it a name up here. So I'm going to call this Juan Sanchez test. And it's looking for a folder to put this in. So
Okay.
underneath that, I'm going to browse, and it's always going to put it in documents. Oh, do you have a PC or a Mac?
What I have is a Sony.
So
Pretty old.
it's a PC though, right?
Yeah.
Okay. You may not, if it's not powerful enough, you may not be able to use it for Premiere anyway. But so I'm working on a PC. It wants to save this project file in documents, and then Adobe I'll go back to documents so you can see this. So documents, Adobe Premiere Pro, and then for some reason it's 14.0. I have no idea why, but this is all the folders I have for video editing that I'm working on. So I'm going to start a new one for Juan Sanchez. And just click on new folder. So then select folder. So this is where it's saving it. There's the address for where it's saving it.
Okay.
Under Juan Sanchez. Okay, so I'm going to click OK. And now this is the blank screen that you get when you open a new project. You can see up here the in the top navigation menu, it's under editing. There's only two screens, only two categories that you're going to use for in Speecho projects. One is editing and one is graphics. So editing is where you do your film work. Graphics is where you add your text.
Okay.
Okay. So down here in the lower left-hand corner, this is where we bring in video files that we're going to edit. And you can search for it. You can go through, go through the browser, but I'm just going to double click on it. And that's going to open Windows for me, or Windows Explorer. And I'm going to go to where we have the Juan Sanchez files. And that's the OneDrive account and in Speecho course for the fall. And what you have access to is this student resource materials, and you have access to Juan Sanchez. So I'm going into Juan Sanchez, and I'm clicking on the raw video folder. And these are the three video files I created interviewing Juan Sanchez using Zoom. So I'm going to click on Juan Sanchez 1 because that's the only one where you could open all three of them right now, but
Okay.
I'm just going to do one of them. They create one file. So I open it, and it opens the movie file down here. Then all I have to do, if I double click on this, it's going to bring it up to here, which is where you select the clips that you're going to edit.
Okay.
This blue bar takes you through the movie. This blue tab. I'm going to bring it all the way to the beginning, and this is where we started recording. But if I go back to the video log, I'm going to make a clip for the #1 clip. And so this is, I guess I talked with him a lot. So
Yeah, I was.
It starts at 11 minutes and 49 seconds. And the first words are, I'm assuming it's I grew up. So I'm going to go to that spot. So I just drag the bar. You can see by the way, over here, if you watch this, you'll see what the location is of the bar. So right now it's at 8 minutes and 55 seconds. I'm going to drag it to 11. It's at 11:23 right now. And I'm looking for 11:30 or, I'm saying, I'm looking at for 11:49. Okay. Okay, so now it's at 11:41. Now there's something wrong with this computer, so the sound is going to be, can you hear? You can't hear the sound, right?
No.
I'm going to unshare. Hold on. I got to put it on so you can hear the sound. So I'm going to share again. Okay. So I'm going to start playing it here. It has the video controls down here, right?
Okay.
So I'm going to play it, and I'm going to stop it when he starts to say, I grew up. Where did you grow up, and what was your first awareness of art of any discipline? Okay, so we want to cut it just as he's saying I. And a lot of times you can watch his lips, and if his mouth is closed and all of a sudden starts to open, that's where the beginning of the cut is that you're going to make. So I'm going to, on either side of the play button, there are backward and forward buttons that go back frame by frame. So I'm going to click back until I think I'm in a place where when I capture this, he's going to say I. So you can see this is moving in small increments. He hasn't started talking yet, so I'm trying to see if I can capture him with his eyes looking at us, but maybe not.
Yeah, no, I think he was looking to the roof or something.
Yeah, it doesn't matter so much. Okay, so I'm going to put over here, these two buttons, these two squiggly lines, is where it says mark in. This is the beginning of the cut, and this one is mark out, the end of the cut. So I'm going to click on mark in, and you can see this now is starting at this point. Whenever I say mark out, that's going to be the end of the clip. So I'm going to play this to see if I got it in the right spot. I grew up in Little Havana. Okay, so that was clean. I don't want to hear my voice on it. starts with him, and he's just talking. And now we look at the video log, and the outcut is 1502, and he ends with the words "a lot." So I'm going to go back here and drag this, watching over here, to 1502. So he's talking for about 4 minutes almost. Okay, so that's 1457. So I'm going to start playing it here and then stop it at the point where he ends with "a lot."
In the salons. Writing today's. That's so cool. And okay, was that inspired by you or blah 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 blah? Again, did something to me that connected me to the letters and the writing and the books and the salons.
Okay, so we didn't quite have the right number on the, this says 1459. I'm actually going to change this to 1459. So that was the end cut. So I'm going to click on this, mark out, and now you see that the clip that we're capturing is between these two marks.
Okay.
Okay. So now that's the clip you're going to capture. Now I'm going to pull that. I'm just dragging it down to here. And all I did was I clicked on this and I dragged it.
Okay.
So this is the video. So now if I start playing.
I grew up in Little Havana.
And drag this bar over to the end.
Connected me to the letters and the writing and the books and the salons.
Okay, so one of the things you want to notice is over here in this space is the audio level.
Okay.
You never want the audio level to exceed 12. So if I play this.
Chapters of his novel. Most of whose characters were.
So that means that this is a good audio level. You don't have to make any changes. If you did have to make changes, like when we record with a real camera instead of Zoom, it's normally too loud. So you right click on this film bar here while it's highlighted and is white, and you get this pop-up menu, and you click on audio gain, and this is where you can change the audio, the sound level for the whole video clip. And normally when I shoot with a camera, we type in -10 in that space, and that because it's too loud, and that reduces it to that 12 level. But we don't have to do that in this case. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to pull this back a little bit from, it was right up against 000. I'm going to pull it back so I can put some text in this space. This is where I'm going to put the question. But before I do that, I'm going to put a transition at the front and the back of the video clip that goes from black, it fades from black into the video, and at the end, the video fades to black. And
Okay.
we use the same transition on every single video clip, so there's consistency. So just to show you, if I did it, if I play it the way it is right now, it's just going to come on real sharp.
I grew up in Little Havana.
So you see how that happened. And then when it ends, it's going to end abruptly.
writing and the books and the salons.
See, it just cuts off. Okay, so now with this highlighted, I clicked on it with it highlighted. On a PC, if you hit Control D, it's going to put two little transitions at the front and the back. And actually, you can see it more. Down here at the bottom is a way of enlarging or shrinking the video line. So you see this little circle here. If I pull this make this larger, you can see this little brown thing here. This is the transition that it put in. So I'm going to pull this out here and make it smaller. So now when you watch this, you'll see it fade in.
I grew up in Little Havana.
And you're going to see it fade out at the end.
Writing and the books and the salons.
See how it faded out? Now this looks very choppy on my computer because I don't know why. When I'm working in Premiere on this computer, it's all screwed up. But when we finish and export it, it's going to be nice and smooth. Everything will be the way it should be. Okay. So now I'm dragging the text bar into this blank space here. So the space up here is black. And I'm going to change from editing to graphics. In graphics, you'll see these tools. Are you familiar with Photoshop?
That is another thing I was going to say. I want to learn how to use Photoshop. It's so embarrassing. I don't know how to use it.
Well, I would say that you know, go to LinkedIn Learning on the FIU site. You get free videos on how to do things in these programs. Awesome. But the interesting thing is these are standard tools that are in all the Adobe products and have been from the very beginning. So this T is for text, and this pointer is for you can move things around, objects around. So I'm going to take the T. A second.
I was literally just thinking to ask you where I was able to learn. I guess I have been lazy to watch videos on Photoshop, but I should because I like creating content for my social media. But the thing is, like, what I do is like I usually work with photographers, so I always let them like do the rest. But I should learn so I can create my own thing and not depend on people.
Well, it's a good thing. I mean, when I started this magazine, I didn't know how to use Adobe, and I didn't know how to use, Adobe Premiere. I knew how to use Photoshop, and I didn't know how to use WordPress, and I taught myself, and I didn't know how to use InDesign, which I used to create the magazine. So I just used online learning and taught myself how to do all that. So it's not, you know, you can teach an old dog new tricks, and it's not that, if you pay attention, it's a great way to learn.
The thing is, like, I barely use computer. I do everything on my phone. So, or maybe I should do it on my iPad because I don't know. I don't like the bulky computer. I should like download it on my iPad.
You have to do this on a computer. I mean, you could, if you're skilled at it, you could probably do it on, I don't even know if you can do it on a phone or not, but maybe on an iPad. But I would definitely do this on a computer. It helps to have a bigger screen for starters. Okay, so I just clicked on the T, and I'm just going to click in the middle of this space, and it's created this little box where text is going to go. So now I'm going back to the video log. And if I click on the cell where we have our question, where did you grow up and what was your first awareness of art of any discipline? And I'm going up here and highlighting the text. And on a PC, it's Control-C to copy. On a Mac, it's Command-C. And then I'm going back to Premiere. And in this, I'm going to hit Control-V. On a Mac, it's Command-V for paste. And there's the text that was in, that's the question. This is the only way I want you to put text into these video clips, because the video logs have been approved by me and spell checked. And so theoretically, the text is perfect. If there's something wrong with it, then it's my fault, not your fault. Okay, so I don't want you retyping the text in here. Okay. So now, when we, over here are the tools that determine what the text is going to look like. So right here, I can see the font they have, that's a default font, is Tahoma. If you're on a PC, I want it to be Arial regular. If you're on a Mac, I want it to be Helvetica regular. So the thing that we got to highlight all this text and change the font. So I'm triple clicking, and that's highlighted all the text. And I'm changing the font to Arial. You can see over here, Arial regular. And the size I've been using is 100. I don't know what these sizes mean, but that seems to look right on a PC.
Okay.
And I'm going to click for, instead of the T, I'm going to put it on the, I'm going to click on the pointer. I'm going to drag this over so there's approximately like a half-inch space over here. So I'm going to start creating line breaks. So I just clicked right on the other side of this comma. I want these lines to be, the text to be touching the edge of the box. I'm going to click here. For some reason, this text looks really big, but I think it's going to look different when we when I export it. Okay, so I've just hit enter to put in these line breaks, and now I'm going back to the pointer tool. And over here are two buttons that will center the text vertically and horizontally. So here's the vertical center, and here's the horizontal center. Now, the one other thing to note is down here is the alignment of the text. I want it to be aligned left. So you can see this side can be in and out, but the left side should always be, the text should butt right up against the edge. So that's called flush left or aligned left. If I clicked on this button, this is the center button, and for some reason, students keep on doing this instead of giving me the flush left or the aligned left. You click on this button, it's going to center everything, but that's not what I want. I want it. I want consistency from one video to the next, from one interview to the next. So I'm going to go back and click on this flush left again, and then just bring it back in the center and click on vertical center and horizontal center. So this is centered now. So that's my text. And now I'm going down here to the, it's created this box here. I'm going to use this slider to enlarge this. So I'm going to drag this text box all the way to 0. And I'm going to put transitions on this just like I did with the film, with the video, by hitting, on a PC it's Control D, on a Mac it's Command D. And now it's put these little brown boxes at either end. So now the one last thing to do is to see if you can read the text before it disappears. So what I do is I read it out loud, and then I add 1, 2. I say 1, 2 out loud. And if I get to 2, I'm assuming that most people will be able to read it in time. Where did you grow up, and what was your first awareness of art of any discipline? 1, 2. Okay, so that worked out more or less perfectly. If I wanted it to be longer, if I wanted the text to be on the screen longer, and I put my cursor over the box, you can see that it's got this little red arrow that goes to the left, or if you pull it in the other direction, it goes to the right. So if I wanted the text to be longer, I just pull out the box. But now if I read this, where did you grow up and what was your first awareness of art of any discipline? 1, 2. And so this would now go on for another, I don't know, 30 seconds, and you'd just be looking at text.
Yeah.
For too long. So I'm going to make the box, I just stop. I clicked on the square to stop it, stop the video, and I'm going to pull this back to the line where it stopped. Okay. So the one other thing you need is the watermark for Inspecho, which Kayla didn't have the right font installed. So again, I'm going to have, I'm just going to make this, and then we'll position it. So I'm still in graphics, and I'm going to click on the T again, and I'm going to type Inspecho. Oops. So this isn't the right font. This is still the Arial font that we were using before. I'm going to double click on it and highlight it. And I'm going to change the font over here to, I'm going to start typing chunk. You see chunk 5 popped up. So now it's our logo font. And I'm going to make the size, instead of 100, I'm going to make it 80.
Okay.
Okay. So that's created another text box. Going back to the pointer tool, this is the logo font that we just created. I'm going to pull this video bar into the picture, and I'm butting this up against the text block, and you can see when I did that, if you see these arrows, triangles rather, that appeared here. So watch when I do it again, you'll see when it aligns, there this triangle appeared. So obviously we don't want the logo to be on his face. So I'm still in the pointer tool. I'm going to go click on the text box, and I'm going to pull it down to the lower right-hand corner. And also the logo is much too bright. It's supposed to be sort of, you can read it, but it doesn't hit you in the face. So I'm going to take the text tool and double click on Inspecho, and there's a transparency function here, which is this little checkerboard. And I'm going to click on this, and I can either use this slider to change the transparency. You can see how it changes. See how the Inspicio changes? So I can pull this to something that I think looks okay, where it's definitely still visible, but it's not hitting me in the face. And so this looks like it's at 20%. I'm going to bump it up a little bit. I can just click on the number. I'm going to make it 30. Oops. That looks a little too much. So maybe I'll make it 25. That's funny. It jumped to 100. I don't know why. Okay, there's 30. So now I'm going to click on the pointer again. And this is a judgment call. So I want it to be visible, but I don't want it to be, you know, hitting you in the head. So maybe 20 was the right one. I'm going to go back to that. Double click on this. Click on this number here. I'm going to put in 20. So you got to experiment with that a little, but I think that looks good. You can definitely see it, and it's not hitting you on the head. Okay.
Yeah.
So the only other thing I got to do is make sure that this watermark is up for the whole length of the video. So I'm going to make this smaller. And we never want the watermark to be where the title screen question is. Okay, so we never want it on there. We only want it on the video. So I'm going to click on this. It's highlighted in white, so you know it's when I'm. You know, watch those little triangles as I bring. You see how there's 2 triangles now?
Okay.
Underneath the there's the logo watermark block, and then there's the video block, and there's these 2 triangles, which means that it's perfectly aligned with the beginning of the film clip. And now I'm going to pull it all the way to the end, and you'll see the 2 triangles appear again. You watching?
Yes, I am.
So now there's 2 triangles at the end, and that means it's perfectly aligned at the end. And the last thing I want to do is put the transition on it. So I want it to fade in just like the video does. So again, this is highlighted, it's white, and I'm going to click on Control D, and you can see it put these transitions at the beginning and end. So on a Mac, it's Command D, on a PC, it's Control D. So now I have a finished film clip, and I'm going to save this with the name that it's going to have when we use it on the website. And this is in the Juan Sanchez folder, and it's going to be uppercase, lowercase. So Juan Sanchez 1.
Okay.
All right. Next one will be Juan Sanchez 2, etc. So I'm going to save this. And now I'm going to create, I'm going to go back to editing and have this space highlighted, it surrounded in blue. And I'm going to export the actual video clip. So you go to File, all the way down here to Export, Media. And the only thing you have to change here is where this is being saved. So the output name is Juan Sanchez 1. That's what we want. The next time you go to create a clip, it might say Juan Sanchez 1 again, and you want to change it to 2, okay? So all I have to do is now is click on export. The default format that we use is H.264. That will create the right video size for what we're doing. If you click on this down arrow, you'll see there's all kinds of other options, but H.264 is what we're using. So now I'm clicking on export, and it's going to export this clip. Just take a, depending on the size of the clip, determines how long it takes.
Okay. Well, actually, it doesn't seem pretty hard. I'm the type of person that I'm kind of like fast learner. So as soon as I get the grip of it, it's going to be easy.
Yeah, I mean, this 90% of making these video clips is just doing the same thing over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And so I'm going to show you, it's even easier the next time you do it for the next clip, because you're using the you're using some of the stuff that you've already created that you don't have to recreate. So for example, when you go to make Juan Sanchez 2, this this watermark you've already made, so you don't have to remake it. And the text box is already created, so you don't have to do that again. So let's go look and see what the video looked like. And I always do them, rather than do them in batches, I always do them one at a time and check them to make sure that everything's fine, because I don't want to do something that's wrong and then just repeat it over and over again. So as I said before, this is going to be in Documents, under Adobe, under Premiere Pro, under 14. I'm going to Juan Sanchez, and it didn't save it here. Where the hell did it save it? Oh my God. I got to find it. So I'm going to go back and see that I must have been saving it to a different location. I'm going to export it again. Okay, so this exported it to the Howard Salts folder. So I know where it is, but I'm going to change this here. Go to Output Name and click on that. This is where it saved it, to Howard Salts. And I should have been saving it to Juan Sanchez. So I'm going to do this one more time, just because I'm going to take this and make it an instructional video. I can cut out my mistakes when I edit this. So you can see here now it says to export to Juan Sanchez folder.
So I remember you mentioned in the email that I cut off a lot on the video log. I wasn't sure because I was like, I don't know if you wanted me to cut off the part that he started like getting out of topic.
The basic rule of thumb when you're doing, okay, it's a good question. So sometimes people go off track. They're not answering the question. They go into a side story. but that may be even more interesting than the question that I asked. So my rule of thumb is, when you're creating the video log, when I stop talking and they start talking, that's the beginning of the clip you want to capture. And then when they stop talking, that's the end of the clip. And I'd rather you have too much and then we eliminate stuff because it's not relevant than miss something. Because when I'm going through the video log and reviewing it, if I see a big gap in time, I say, okay, well, what happened here? You know, how come there's a 5-minute gap in between the clips that you captured? And a lot of times with a lot of students, there's something that the student said, oh, this wasn't important. And I think it is important. So I'd rather have you capture it than not capture it. Okay.
Okay.
So
then
now,
we have to switch the question.
Yeah. You have to make up a question that goes with the answer.
Okay.
So now if we go back to Documents, Adobe Premiere Pro 14, Juan Sanchez. Okay, so here's the video clip, Juan Sanchez 1. So I'm going to open this and play it. And when I do it on a PC, I like to play it in Windows Media Player.
I grew up in Little Havana, and I've pretty much been in Florida all of my life.
Okay, so everything looks too big to me here. I don't know how this happened, and this might be a flaw in my Premiere when it says there's some things that are wrong. But you know, the text here is that's way too big, and this
left for the
Speecho
U.S.
logo
when I was 1 year old, and we weren't reunited as a family till I was.
So I'm gonna go change that before we do anything else.
Okay.
I don't know why this happened, because the settings that I put are the settings that I normally use. So I'm gonna go back into graphics. And it looked big on here when I was doing it in this mode, but sometimes that happens, and when it exports, hold on, I have to move something here. It looks okay, but this definitely doesn't look okay. So I'm going to triple click on this till the whole thing's highlighted. And I'm going to change the font size to 80. Which still may be too big. Yeah. I'm just going to leave it like this, and then I'm going to click on these centering tools. And then for the logo font, this is at 80. I'm going to make it 60. I can move it a little bit. So some of this is if I think the way these things turn out vary by which version of Adobe Acrobat you have. And I'm not Acrobat, I mean Adobe Premiere you have. And so you may have to experiment until you get the text at the right size. But as the courts say, you'll know it when you see it. You'll know when it's right. And if you look at some of the other videos that we've published on the website, you'll get a sense of what the right size is. So I'm going to save this as Juan Sanchez 2, or I'm sorry, Juan Sanchez 1 V2. I'm going to export it again. So see, it's still calling it Juan Sanchez 1. So now when I go to save it, I'm going to call it V2. And up here, you can see it's in the Juan Sanchez folder. And then I'm going to click on export. The important thing is to stick with the first video that you're making until you think it's perfect. Because all the videos you make after that are going to be, this almost becomes the template for it, and you're just swapping out video clips.
So what I'm thinking of doing before I get the Adobe Premiere, maybe the trial, is to set up already a day for the interview with my guy so I can get everything done in a month.
Okay.
Maybe like do it as soon as possible so I have those video clips with me, and then I do the trial, and then I get the Juan Sanchez done by myself, and then I can start editing the other guy's video.
Okay. So here's the Juan Sanchez V2. Let's see how this looks.
I grew up in Little Havana, and I pretty much.
So I think the watermark looks fine.
I think so.
What do you think about the text on the video screen? The question.
It seems that it still looks a tiny bit big, right?
I agree. Okay, so I'm going to change that. We'll do it one more time, and then we'll go and do another clip just to show how easy it is once you get everything going. So
yeah.
Hang on a second. Okay, so I'm going to make this. We had it at 80. I'm going to make it 60. Now this could be a different number on yours, so you just have to, when you get this set up, you're just going to have to experiment with it.
I think 60 might be a little too small, don't you think so?
I don't know. I'm really getting confused. So what I'm going to do, though, is change the line breaks here. So all I'm doing is putting my cursor in here and either hitting the back arrow, space bar, what's interesting is if you go to some of the other video. I ask this question all the time of everybody. And usually I think it fits on 2 lines. So maybe that's the key thing to see, that this question fits on just 2 lines of text. So now when I click on the centering, I think this will be okay. This is a little close to the edge. I don't like it to get too close. So I'm actually going to change this by simply, the reason it's so close is because of the word discipline. So if I change this, put it down here, now click on these centering tools, it's giving me space to breathe around the margins, right? So I'm going to save this. You can actually hit just Control S, or you can hit save. You see this little save thing come up. And this is the last time I'm going to export it. We'll see what this looks like. May not be exporting because I'm in this graphics mode. I'm switching to editing. Now the blue box is around it here. Okay, so I'm going to change the name. V3. And what a lot of students do is they'll just export these and just keep on going and not bother to tinker with them until they look perfect. And then they have to go back in and fix everything.
Oh my God, I'm usually like that when I'm creating my pictures or some videos on my phone. I'm like a little OCD, like I really like perfection. So I will have on my phone gallery like 20 edits of the same thing.
OCD is good when it comes to editing.
Yeah. Even sometimes at work, all my clients, they always tell me I'm really perfectionist and they like that. But sometimes it takes time. So you have to prioritize and see what is worth taking time.
Okay, hopefully this one will be perfect. Yeah, I think that looks pretty good, right?
Yeah, I think it looks good. Yeah.
I grew up in Little Havana,
okay.
and I
So
pretty
I think
much
we're
been
there.
in Florida.
So now the rest is a lot easier. So
we did 60, right?
Let me show you how to do the next one. So I'm going to save the next one. I'm going to save it as, make sure you do the save as. Every single clip that you make, you want to create a new file, a new project file. These are Adobe Premiere project files, because that way, if we discover something's wrong, when the interviewee looks at it and said, oh, I want to change this, you don't have to go back and recreate everything. You can just open this project file and make the change. So I'm going to call this Juan Sanchez 2. Okay. And now I'm going to delete the video that we have that we're looking at. I'm highlighting it. I'm deleting it. And we're going to go on to the next one in the log. So this is number 2, and it starts at 1618 with I studied theater in high school. So I just go back up here and drag this to 16.
Well, I studied.
By the way, you noticed that when I played the video was perfect. It didn't have all that fluttering in it.
Okay, yeah.
So I'm watching his lips to try and get the right spot. Now I'm clicking the mark in. And you see how this changed. And I play it and see if I got the right spot.
Studied theater.
Okay, so I want the eye. I didn't get the eye. So I'm going to pull this out a little bit.
A conscious effort to have unaccented English, or is that something that happens at that age? Well, eventually,
Okay, I think he's going to start right here. I don't want I want to start on I.
I studied.
The mark in is always the hardest one to get perfect.
Studied theater.
Okay. Yeah.
You can hear him a little bit.
I studied theater, first of all.
So that's perfect. And then the end is 1657 because of the training. I'm going to drag this.
Kind of was because of the training.
Okay. So I'm going to mark it out. We got this little clip here. Now I'm clicking on this, left clicking on it, and I'm just dragging it down to here. And I'm going to highlight it, hit Control D or Command D on a Mac, put the transitions in. Now the next thing I got to do is change the text. So I'm going over to, one second, to graphics. Clicking on the T. It's probably easier if I go over and copy the text first. So the text is, okay, it's a big one. So though you immigrated to Miami from Cuba, you speak unaccented English. Did you make a conscious effort to do so, or was, I can see there's a mistake here. Was it a natural outcoming of being young? This doesn't make sense. Or was it a natural result? I'm going to change this to. Or was it a natural result of being young? Okay, so I'm going to highlight that. I'm going to triple click in here, 1, 2, 3, and hit Control V for paste. I'm just going to save this. Okay, so this space here is a good enough space. And I'm just going to start putting in, hitting enter to put in line breaks. And remembering that I always want it to be flush left or aligned left. Okay, so now I'm switching to the pointer, clicking on the centering tools. And I think that even though it's a lot of text, I think it's still going to look fine. So the question is, can you read it in the time period? So I click on play. Though you immigrated to Miami from Cuba, you speak unaccented English. Did you make a conscious effort to do so, or was it a natural? See, I can't do it. So,
Oh yeah, it's too long.
so I'm going to drag this out a little bit. I'm going to move this back. Though you immigrated to Miami from Cuba, you speak unaccented English. Did you make a conscious effort to do so, or was it a natural result of being young? 1, 2. Okay, so that's pretty good. So I'm going to make this a little smaller. Oops. Okay. So now I'm going to just drag this video line over to here till they abut. I'm going to drag the watermark bar until these 2 arrows point up, 2 triangles. And then I'm going to make the watermark bar shorter. And so this should be perfect now. Now, when I'm looking at this, I don't know if it's my, I guess this looks like it. Okay. So now, let's see. For some reason, the text looks like the edges are jagged. I don't know why.
I studied theater, first of all, in high school.
Okay, so you can see how fast I could make the next clip. You know, because I didn't have to monkey around with the watermark again. And the text for the question was already set up. We found our perfect text. So let me export this.
So I have a question. Regarding the text of the question, I will, like me, if I wouldn't know how you like it, I will usually just do the line breaks after each comma, depending on how long
No,
it is.
it doesn't work that way. It's visual. It has
Okay.
nothing to do with where the commas are.
Okay.
You want to make sure, like a lot of students will wind up with the text going all the way out to the edges, which I think is really ugly. The edges of the space of the video player. So I'm clicking on the output name, and I'm going to change it to Juan Sanchez 2. Save. Now we'll export. This goes faster because it's a much shorter clip. Okay, so now when we go to Juan Sanchez 2,
I think it looks fine, but because it's too much text, maybe it's a little too big. Or you think it looks
to me, this looks okay.
okay?
Because you're going to have questions that have a lot of text in it. I don't have a problem with this. I think this looks perfect, actually.
Okay.
And so in this, let's see, where can I do? I will put these 2 folders, these 2 files in your, I'll show you, I'll do it right now so you'll see where it goes. Okay. So the one other thing you want to do, so you want, there's three things that I check when I look at the videos that you've created. One is to make sure that the text looks right and has no mistakes in it. The second is when it transitions from the text to the beginning of the person talking. I want to make sure you don't hear my voice. I want to make sure it's a clean cut, and you don't hear I think so, as a bit, you know, because people say that a lot as a kind of audio tick or verbal tick.
Mm-hmm.
I studied theater, first of all, in high school.
Okay, so that's nice and clean.
Okay.
And then I go all the way to the end to make sure it ends cleanly.
Because of the training.
Okay, so that ended cleanly. So, and the only problem we have, I mean, is that I'm recording this using Zoom, so it's not beautiful video. It's as good as we can do during a pandemic. So what I'm going to do is, we have two video files here, Juan Sanchez 2 and Juan Sanchez 1v3 that are ready to go. And so I'm going to copy them, Control C, and go over to the OneDrive. I don't want you doing this until I've approved the videos, but since I'm making the videos, I'm approving myself. So we're going over to Adobe. Oh, sorry, I'm going the wrong place. We're going over to the OneDrive, to the video files, to Juan Sanchez. And now there's this place for MP4 files. These are the ones that we're eventually going to store these on an FIU server. So I'm pasting. And now we've got those two files are in the MP4 server, MP4 folder. And eventually I'm going to transfer them over to the FIU library. Okay?
Okay.
And actually I can change the name. Now we have this one correct. I'm going to change the name and just make it Juan Sanchez 1. Okay?
Okay.
So these are ready to be uploaded to, I can upload these now to YouTube. And once you've finished, but now you're in a position where I want you to make one file for me that I approve. And it means that you have to get the chunk 5 font installed on the machine that you're using, so you can make the watermark correctly. And just so you see where this is, in the student materials, in Speecho logo font, chunk 5, you use this chunk 5 here, this file, TrueType font file. You have to install this on your computer. And you can Google how to do that.
Okay.
Okay?
Okay.
That's it. I'm going to
Yes,
stop. I'm going to stop recording.